My name is Dennis. I how do I make this short? Essentially, the reason I got into like holistic health and everything was because at around 20, 21 years old, I basically started. I was struggling to be able to walk, like the most basic things that really we all take it for granted, but it's just something so simple that it's often overlooked until you lose your ability to do something as simple as walking. So I was having trouble walking, and I was like, what is happening to me? This is like something everyone in nature can do. And I didn't really know what was happening. I was training for bodybuilding at that time, and the time went on, things would get a little bit better, then they would get worse. And then I started going blind in my eyes, like one eye and then the other. And then I was, visiting doctors, and they would just tell me, so you're under a lot of stress, you're probably lifting wrong, you're doing something wrong. There was no really good explanation of what was happening. And then again, long story short, fast forward to 2018, I had moved to California, and I was fortunate enough to luckily been seen by a doctor that kind of connected some dots with my past history, after I told them everything that had happened. And they're like, have you ever been tested for ankylosing spondylitis? And I was like, what the heck is that? Like, never heard of that in my whole life. And they ran the tests, and within probably 30, 40 minutes, they brought me downstairs to the main level, and they put Humira, which is like a biologic, in my hand. And they're like, all right, you're going to take this for the rest of your life every 2 weeks. And I was like so shocked by it. And to the few people that were in the room, it was like so normal to them. And I was like, what the heck? Like, they're like, do you want us to do it now, or do you want to like watch a video and go home and do it yourself? And I was like, I felt so much pressure, and I was like, I'll take this outside, and like, I'll, go home and watch some YouTube videos and do this myself. And yeah, I remember like going to my car, like with this injection in my hand, and I just like sat down in the parking lot, and I just started crying. I was like, what does my life come to? I'm like a healthy person. I've grown up playing hockey, like been active, never been overweight, in good shape. And now this. And yeah, then basically I just went home, watched like a quick YouTube video, and I was like, no way in hell am I doing this. And I just went down the rabbit hole of like health and figuring out, what's good for me, what's bad for me, what I should do, what I shouldn't do. And then, yeah, that's pretty much like led me to where I am today. I started back in early 2023, end of 2022. I had sold that business that I had in LA. I sold that business, and then I moved to Bali, Indonesia, just because I had really gotten into surfing during the pandemic. My business was shut down. And I basically, like, the only thing to do here was surf, really. Like, if you wanted to do physical activity, I had a little park by my house with like 2 pull-up bars, and I would like go outside, do pull-ups and push-ups, but my gym was closed, couldn't run my business. So the only thing really for me to do was like that, outside in nature, physical activity was surfing. And yeah, after I sold the business and everything, I selected Bali. It seemed like a very healthy place where a lot of people lived a very freeing lifestyle. It was attractive to me, and it was affordable. It's really cheap there compared to a city like Los Angeles. And I was like, all right, I'm going to go there, teach myself a new set of skills, get a camera, start talking to it, figure out how to do some editing. And then, fast forward today, I'm, back in LA and running this like content influencer thing. It's kind of wild to see how it's like all, taken off and gone the way it's gone, but I'm super grateful for it. And yeah, the fact that like I'm able to like help people with their health and transform the way that they think about things and just look at things by, from another perspective is super gratifying. And, being able to like change people's lives and help them with their health because they're so lost in all the madness of everything going on today and how like everything's poisoned. It's super gratifying. And that brings us to this podcast, I suppose.
And now you're healed?
Yeah. I actually just made like a post the other day, and I still test positive for HLA-B27, which basically is not everyone that has ankylosing spondylitis test positive for HLA-B27, but I test positive for that. But I haven't gone blind in either of my eyes, and probably since 2018, which is the time I went into UCLA. Because like, hey, like my eyes like extremely, it's extremely inflamed. I couldn't see my hand like this far in front of my face out of one eye. It was one eye then the other. But yeah, no, I don't experience like any symptoms. I test positive, like I said, but
Which is an autoimmune disease.
Correct.
Right?
Yep. Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
Which I forget the percentage, but it's like 50-60% of it's like 50 or 60% of illnesses, I believe, are like attributed to like autoimmune diseases. And like, so many people are dealing with different versions of it, mainly because, we're in such a high stress state all the time and our food is garbage.
This episode is sponsored by Plant Paper, tree-free, toxin-free toilet paper, because otherwise you're gonna put this cancer up your butthole. And I think you should care because this literally goes inside of you. Yeah. I mean, this is even more intense than the skin. The skin is already really bad.
Yeah, even more for our ladies. I mean, you do not want this paper touching your yoni. I mean, it's going so deep in your yoni.
What? Are you crazy?
Yeah, so, and I know it's hard, and you really have to start. I think
it's not hard. It's not hard. Just get Plant Paper today. And if you use the code CandyCan, you get 25% off your first order. Go to plantpaper.us right now and get yours.
It's like a pandemic of allergies, autoimmune disease, and yeah, like overall, everybody's having it now after COVID.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's just like accelerated everything too.
Man, so what initially you think, like what life changes did you make to heal yourself?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And it's
like a slow and gradual healing yourself, or was it really like you cut out processed food and instantly you were better, or what happened?
Yeah, so I would say like the biggest thing to start with diet for a large percentage of the population would just be like cut out gluten. That stuff's terrible, like especially in the U.S., like with all the glyphosate that we spray on everything. Cut out gluten. That's going to be huge. And at first, it sounds like really difficult, but once you just like eliminate one thing, then eliminating all the other things after that gets pretty easy because you're just going to feel better too. I never was a huge fan of sweets, but cutting out processed sugar will be super beneficial for a lot of people. I got a little bit more specific with it in my autoimmune disease, like diving into things like anti-nutrients and eliminating those. But then really just like managing your stress, keeping like yourself out of fight or flight mode as much as possible. It's inevitable that we all jump into it at some point in time, but just doing like really, like when you think about it, it's all just like getting back to the basics of nature and like what we all stemmed from, because now we're just so conditioned to eat everything out of like plastic bags and buy everything that's already pre-made from the grocery store that has a shelf life of like 2 years or whatever it is. But it's like really just getting back to the basics, like go outside, like get some sun, like touch the grass, eat real food from nature that grew from a tree or, from an animal that wasn't raised eating processed corn and grains. And yeah, just really
Were you not doing that before?
So like when I was doing all the bodybuilding stuff, like I was very conscious of macros, right? Proteins, carbs, fat. But nothing was grass fed. I also didn't have a lot of money, right? So it's like, it's so funny you say this too, because I was actually at the grocery store the other day and I walked past these two kids and they grabbed this like big thing of like Fairlife. And they're like, dude, it has like 120 grams of protein. And I just like wanted to tell them like, dude, that like you gotta, it's so much more than that. So I was eating like, kind of that junk, almost every fitness supplement. A lot of them are just garbage. I think they sell you kind of like that Fairlife did with like a high amount of protein, but it's like you look at all the added ingredients and it's just like filled with fillers and emulsifiers and your protein cookie or brownie, like it's just like a marketing tactic with stamping 30 grams of protein or whatever it is on that package to convince people that it's like healthy. Because anyone that's like wants to build muscle, which is, it seems like that space is like really taken off. I think people are becoming more attuned to the importance of their health, and everyone's just connecting fitness to protein. And granted, like that can change a lot for you, but it's so much more, it goes so much more in depth than just protein, right? It's like, how is the protein sourced? Like, what other ingredients are in it? So yeah, when I was doing bodybuilding, I was eating like a lot of white rice, chicken, broccoli. Again, nothing like pasture raised, nothing organic, but it's still better than, you know, probably what most Americans are eating. But really like fine tuning that and getting to more nutrient dense foods, sourced better. Definitely wasn't drinking like good quality water. It was just like a gallon a day, you know, of like Brita filtered tap water. So yeah, just changing all of that and getting as close to the main source and as close to back to nature as possible is going to be a game changer for a lot of people.
It's crazy what people can get away with, because it seems like you were not that unhealthy. Like you worked out all the time. I mean, obviously, I was drinking the protein shakes every day, but you kind of get away with stuff when you're young.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, sometimes life hits you and gives you like a chance to really dive into your like natural ways and finding back to earth. And that's crazy that happened through something like everybody that I've talked to, they've either had like a crazy thing that turned them around, or some crazy disease, or something terrible happened to one of their organs, so they had to make that change initially.
Yeah.
When for me, the real, I think COVID really made me wake up, and having children. Yeah, and once you become a dad and now you have this little life and now you have to make choices for that person, it's different than for yourself, where you're like, I was just drinking whey protein every day and fuck it, in and out, you know.
Protein, right?
Yeah, and it's different when you have like a little human that is so innocent and is gonna die if you don't make the right choices, kind of, or you make him sick. So
Yeah.
you really dial it in. Plus, you just I had the COVID shot. I didn't know any better, trusted the system, trusted the government, trusted always doctors, always thought hospitals are great and ambulances are great and everybody's out for good. And yeah, that all changed once that trust got so brutally hurt with this experimental drug.
Yeah, if you don't mind me asking, like, what was it that like kind of woke you up to the fact that things weren't right? Did something like happen, or?
Well, I remember my neighbor, my landlord, actually was like really holistic.
Okay.
But I always tried to push it away and was like, these people are crazy. It's just like once your whole worldview collapses, it's so scary, and like you just don't want to go there. It's so much work, and it's overwhelming, I feel like, in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
You feel lost. Once you know every food is bad and all the water has estrogens and everything makes you less of a man and everybody's coming for your testosterone, it makes you crazy. So I pushed him away, and he was like, don't get the booster. And I was like, nah, whatever, you're talking nonsense. And then I pushed it away, and it like keep coming into my life. Like holistic people would come, and I would hear them out, and I would be like, nah, they're taking it too far. Because they would question history, they would question just everything, where you're like, what are you talking about? You know, like they've been lying. My whole school education is a lie. Every history book is a lie. Like it goes really far, and you just don't want, I don't know, we've created this godless society where when you don't believe in God, you don't believe in evil. And there's a big problem in that, because if you don't believe in evil, you don't see the evil, and it's very scary to believe that there's evil in the world, but it also is very beneficial, because then you can protect yourself at least. And getting such a godless society really makes the evil flood into, I mean, you can see it with the Olympics, and you can see it with Netflix and social media. The devil is everywhere, and they're coming especially for the children. So once you open the eyes, it becomes very overwhelming. So I kept pushing it away, but people will come into my life over and over. Yeah. And it really, I think, meeting, I don't know if you know Troy Casey. the certified health nut.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Meeting him, it was like undeniable. Once I listened to him for 4 hours, I was like, I need to go down this rabbit hole. There's no turning back now.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah. No, I think COVID did that for like a lot of people, you know. Like at first everyone wanted to do the right thing, right? It's like, you know, get this to like protect your family, protect others. And then it was the people that like, you know, they were calling it the pandemic of the unvaccinated, right?
Yes.
And to me, you know, I was like super skeptical about it like right when it came out. Granted, this was 4 years after I was already told to take this injection for the rest of my life. And I was like, okay, another one that they're enforcing on the entire world. And that the push for it just seemed so weird. Like, I don't know if you remember, but there was in California, they were like incentivizing people to get it with like a lottery. Like you basically got a lottery ticket if you got this. And I was like, dude, the government's never given me anything. Like, why, you know, it just like seemed so backwards. And all the incentives that they were giving to get it, and all of the celebrities pushing it, and the politicians, and it just like, just from the beginning, it felt so wrong to me. And I think like, you know, kind of taking a couple steps back, we're as humans are just so disconnected from ourselves and what we, like our gut instinct, I suppose, or your intuition. And it's hard to like put the finger on like one thing of what it is, whether it's like the news outlets, the social media, the way that we were just like programmed through our schools and institutions. You know, we've just been so conditioned to like believe that everything is fine and dandy and the government wants the best for us. And I guess there's like a tipping point for people, and it's different for everybody as to like what kind of flips that switch and makes you think like kind of like going against the grain. Like what if you just like have that thought in the back of your mind, like maybe they don't want my best interest. And I don't really know what that switch was for me. Like I remember, you know, years ago I was really young, and I remember like probably even before middle school, my like family members' cousins were like taking pills like to get through their school day, or like even like my grandma would like babysit me and all my cousins over the summer when we didn't have school and parents were working. We would all go to my grandma's house, and like every day, like one of my cousins like had to take a medication. I was like, why do you take medication every day? Like me and my siblings didn't take anything, and I just thought it was like weird and kind of off. And then I don't know if that kind of like snowballed over the years or what, but I think everyone like will have one event in their life that kind of just flips that switch and makes them think the other way. And like I was saying earlier, like COVID, for a lot of people, you know, they were trying to do the right thing. And the news is like actually being so suppressed about what's actually happening. And I get this because I like kind of I'm really careful with what I talk about, because there's only so much you can say, right, without being censored or blocked or saying you're dropping like misinformation. So I'm like really tricky with it, but I get a lot of messages and people talk about things in the comments. And you know, whenever things are happening to like athletes today with like myocarditis, or and like people are on the internet are calling it like turbo cancer, but a lot of people know somebody personally, unfortunately, that have died from COVID. But there's a lot of people now speaking up about like vaccine injuries and things of that sort. And I think, unfortunately, you know, they had to get the shot for this stuff to happen. But that is like the switch that, you know, it's kind of like backfiring on the government or the officials that pushed it. And people are like really waking up to like, maybe things aren't for our best interest, you know? So I think, you know, with the bad comes good, and with the good comes bad. So it's, you know, finding the balance in everything and trying your best not to like freak out about everything, and, you know, going back to like your nervous system, like trying to keep that at bay and doing what you can to like prevent the things that you can in your life as far as toxins and everything else. But yeah, man, that was 2020 was a year to be remembered, man, for sure.
Yeah, Yeah, how much would you say do you self-censor? Because it is scary as an influencer that they can just take away all your monetization, your platforms. I mean, they even take it as far as finding people from your past that accuse you of certain things that you didn't do. I mean, we saw it with like Russell Brand, Alex Jones, the Tates. It seems like they have different tactics to suppress the truth. So it's very interesting, like, how much are you willing to lean out of the window, right?
Yeah, that's a really good one. And again, like, I don't want to be, because I mean, I would like to think like I'm a pretty good, genuine, humble person. So I don't want to be like this crazy guy that's like far off, always talking about conspiracies. But there's definitely, I'll like toy with it. I haven't really been hit with anything yet. I think TikTok took down like 2 of my videos, but outside of that, I think it's just really about like phrasing things the right way, saying like there's like times where I'll like show like an object or what's the word, like a prop, like how the prop instead of like saying the word, and just doing things like where people know what you're talking about without actually like saying the words. I don't know how the AI and I don't know how they track everything. I have no idea. But it's just like being really tricky with it. And yeah.
Or do you think it's about the reach? Because a lot of times I feel like it's not really about, there's a lot of people that say a lot of more crazy stuff, but they don't reach as many people as the big ones.
Right.
But once you reach a lot of people, I mean, the suppression gets real, kind of.
Yeah, and that's like, obviously it's taken me a little bit to have grown where I'm at now. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really want to like toy with it too much, I'll play it safe. When I feel that it's time to like speak about something, I'll say something, but I don't dive in too terribly deep on it. And believe me, there's like a lot of things that I'd like to talk more about, but I'm just like, it doesn't feel safe enough, and you'd have to go over to a platform like Rumble or something like that to really dive into that kind of stuff.
Yeah, are you on X and Rumble or
what's that?
Twitter?
Yeah, I have a platform on X. I don't really post there, and then same with Rumble too. Like, there's just so much. There's just all the platforms. Like, I'm doing what I can for the time being, but it goes like, yeah, there's what Trump came out with, like another platform.
Truth.
Yeah, there's that one. Then there's another one. One of my buddies was telling me about it. I think Chevron from like Symbiotica and a business partner are coming out with another one. I'm like, dude, I can't keep up. Like, it's just too many. Like, there's like 15 platforms to post on now. So, it's kind of like going back to the saying, don't put put all your eggs, or well, they say don't put all your eggs in one basket, but it's with the platforms too. It's just like I really like Instagram because you can just connect with people really well, and you can probably do that on other platforms, but to be able to like communicate with people and I guess nurture your audience, to do that on like 15 platforms, it's like insanely difficult. We only have so much time in a day, and I don't really even spend that much time communicating with people because it's too time consuming, So it's just like I kind of put what I put out there, more of be a creator as opposed to a consumer, and just let things ride. And then people come to like my communities naturally, I suppose, through that. And then there I can communicate with them. So it's, part of the funnel, I suppose.
So would you say rather than exposing the elites, you're more focused on holistic health and healing, helping people to heal themselves?
I would say, they kind of come hand in hand.
Or do you still do the exposing?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to like read about and like hear other people's positions on these elites. So I'm interested in it, but again, I feel like it's like kind of risky to like go into that, and I feel like my purpose is to help as many people as possible. So if I can drop like
knowledge bombs.
Yeah, like a little bit here and a little bit there, and then like kind of because people like myself are like intrigued by that information, so it's like grabbing a few people when I drop those, but really focusing on like helping people heal because just like you a few years ago, like people have no idea like how bad it truly is, and everyone like there's so much information out there, and there's so many people just saying different things like. Dude, I don't know. When I come across a video and people's like, don't eat eggs, I'm like, good Lord. Like, come on. But, everyone's like carnivore versus vegan. And there's just so much information going in every direction. And I understand why people are overwhelmed and confused. And it's just, I feel like the real purpose is just helping people from that perspective as opposed to like going deep down all these rabbit holes with how we're being controlled and all that stuff. And sure, that's information I'm happy to talk about, but I don't really think it's like the core of what I want to focus on in my purpose.
Where do you get your information from?
Dude, all over. That's like something a lot of people ask me. Read books, watch podcasts.
Like I didn't know about the lead in the salt until I saw your video.
Yeah, there's tons of independent organizations that are just always testing things. Like there's a guy, I don't know his account. He pops up every so often, but he just like walks into like thrift shops, and have you ever seen the guy? He like takes like liquid and he like drops down like a bowl or something, and then he like swab it, and then it like turns for lead, and then he basically like just buys all the stuff that he tests for lead to get it out of the store. So there's just like tons of independent people doing that because, again, there's in the U.S. specifically, there's like so little restriction about what we're able to like put out there. Like the cosmetic space is insane. And, they say girls are like, some women are exposed to like hundreds of chemicals every day because of their beauty care routine. And when you just like factor that into play, and then you're like, okay, like that's just the cosmetics. And then there's like our water, and then there's our food, and then there's like literally our air. And then you just again go down the rabbit hole. So it's it's really important to like look around, shop around. For the salt, for example, like I saw it posted once, and I was like, oh wow, that's like mind blowing. Like I know a lot of people that use that salt. And then I saw like another source say it, and I was like, okay, now I'll probably say something because it was two sources that tested this as opposed to just one. And that's the other thing too, is like you gotta be really careful with things like that because there's like a lot of perspective, and there's certainly salts out there that are like way worse, right? Like your ionized table salt is just like absolute garbage. Like everything that you get at your little mom and pop diner, like that table salt, there's very little nutrients to it. So I think like if you're even using like a good sea salt or a Celtic salt, like you're already doing one step better, but it could even be better. You know what I mean? And there's literally levels to everything. Like the meat, like there's like organic, and then there's like organic grass fed, and then there's organic grass fed, grass finished, and it just like keeps going. And then like the next best thing,
self-hunted.
Yeah. And then the next thing is like going out to the middle of the woods and like getting your own. That's like is organic. Well, hopefully as organic as it can get. Like honestly, you don't really know if that deer was by like a power plant that had chemicals like in the water that it drank. Dude, you just never know in this day and age. So it's just trying to do the best that you can. And I feel like if most people really like try a little bit harder, like they'll notice like rapid improvements in their health.
What do you do personally to this day of age to maximize your health?
In regards to like diet or
like life?
Okay.
Like things that you completely deny. I can tell you mine.
Yeah.
Like I don't watch TV. I try to start my day without the phones. The phones are not in the bedroom. No. Also, electricity gets shut off at night. I go to the I trigger all the little breakers. Mm-hmm. And just turn everything off besides like the fridge. I have a little sticker on the fridge. I leave that on. Then I start normally the day with a cold plunge, and then I get on my phone, I guess. Yeah. And then I try to minimize the screen time as much as possible. And do things like in presence, especially when the kids are home from school, or if I'm with my wife. I try to really be aware when you're on the screen and when you're not on the screen, because it's like my biggest enemy is the screen, the phone, for sure. Like, I hate that thing, especially when you do it for work and you always have to be on it and you make money through it. You always think you're missing out, or you could answer something or could post something. So normally I get that shit off in the morning, also to hit the right algorithms in the morning and post the videos that I need to. And then I go to the gym, and then I only eat real food, one ingredient, eggs, steak, raw milk, raw cheese, raw butter. That's pretty much it. Nothing else. No cake, no dessert, no sweets, and then water out of glass, and then as pure as possible. And then we have shower filters. We try to only wear cotton. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that sounds.
Also, we don't use like detergent on the washing. We have specific pots for the dishwasher. I mean, the more you get into it, the more you find little things that are like still messed up in your system.
Yeah.
Where you're like, oh my God, I'm using this crazy detergent for my clothes, and my organ of my skin is the biggest organ to absorb this shit. So we're still finding things. So I'm trying to like find like what else in my environment is very toxic.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you use the beef tallow too for like the skin?
I don't use anything really. No soap, no nothing anymore.
Yeah. Excuse me.
No, I for cooking I only use ghee. My wife loves ghee. I normally use, for low temperature, I use butter, like for eggs, and then for steak, it goes straight on the grill, and I don't use any lighter fluid, and it's just coal. But if I need to make like ground beef, I would say coconut oil.
Coconut oil is a good one too.
Or ghee.
Yeah, no, I love ghee. I go through like a little pint of ghee probably like almost every week. Yeah, so I guess I'm very similar, a little different, I suppose. So like I'll wake up, again, avoid the phone. I'm in like a big kind of like apartment complex area. So like I'll put like my phone on airplane mode and stuff, but I don't, like, there's other people that use my Wi-Fi, so I don't like just shut the Wi-Fi off on them as much as I would like to, but it's actually, the router's also pretty far from my room. So not
first floor or up floor?
First floor. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, that's better, right? It's like to just do everything that you can.
I heard it's weird to be elevated when you sleep.
Yeah, then you can get into like the whole thing of, and unfortunately, like where I'm at, there's not like ground, like dirt where I could, like that I could like plug in, like get really crazy with it, plug in some like grounding sheets like outside, so you're like literally grounded with the earth when you're sleeping. That'd be awesome though. So yeah, Wi-Fi off, airplane mode. So shut that off on my phone. I'll wake up, open up the blinds, like drink some water, hydrate with some minerals and all that fun stuff. And then usually I try to like go on a little walk, or if I don't have time and I'm, running behind or have a busy day, I'll just like go up to the rooftop and like do some stretching, some breath work. But I really like if I can like make it down to the beach and walk a little bit, get some steps in, again, without the phone. Sometimes I'll take the phone with me, but I like to do it without the phone, just for like you said, like a post or something. And then I come back after whatever it is, 30, 45 minutes. And then from there, I'll make another, like something to drink, take some supplements or something like that. And then I'll jump into some work or my morning routine too. If sometimes like I jump in the shower, sometimes I don't shower, but filtered shower, just use like an organic soap. And then I'll jump into some work. And then usually I just work till around 11 to 1, depending on the day. And then that's when I'll eat like my first meal, dive into like literally 6 eggs, raw cheese, an avocado. Been incorporating like a lot of broccoli sprouts lately, just for like the anti-cancer benefits, I suppose. Some fruit. So it's a pretty good sized breakfast, lunch, brunch, whatever you want to call it. And I generally only eat 2 meals a day. So I'll eat that meal and then I'll eat like another meal, I don't know, between 5 and 7, generally at the latest. And then, yeah, pretty much like repeat. Then my dinner consists of usually like a pound of ground, like grass-fed ground beef or like a ribeye or something. I'll throw in like some sweet potatoes on the side, some carbs. Usually I don't eat many carbs until the evening just because I feel like it slows me down a little bit. So I'll do like focus on like proteins and fats in the morning and then save a majority of my carbs until the evening. And yeah, then I try to get like 7-8 hours of sleep. Well, lately that's been a little bit on the lower side than I would like. This Oura ring is great, but man, it makes you like when you get bad sleep, it reminds you. So yeah, just like the season of life I'm in right now, like I'm just like working like a little more than I would like to, but you know, I'll be getting back to a place where I can like focus on 8+ hours of sleep. Honestly, like if you can get 9 hours of sleep, you feel like $1 million. Do you get good sleep?
I think so.
Yeah.
I guess, I don't know, maybe not, because my 6-month-old wakes me up at like 6 in the morning.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's these times where they wake up really early. It gets better when they're like toddlers, then they just sleep in like everybody else. So,
Yeah.
the sauna, I really like the sauna and cold plunge. I do like hot exposure, cold exposure, back and forth, and that really makes you sleep like a baby.
Yeah. Well, I forgot to mention that too, of course. Yeah, I try to go to the gym. If it's not the gym, like if I don't have a lot of time, because the gym for me right now is like 10 minutes away, then, you know, I go there, work out for like 45 minutes an hour, then 20 minutes in the sauna. Unfortunately, this gym doesn't have an ice bath, but I'm looking at another one right now that does. Yeah, if I had the availability to start my day with an ice bath, that would certainly be in the routine. But jumping into the ocean
It gets close.
Yeah. No, right now, it's not too bad. Like when I surf, I can surf without a wetsuit. But yeah, like in the winter, dude, it's cold. The Pacific's cold. So that's another good thing to do in the mornings too. And then you're grounded, of course, as well. But yeah, the having the availability to go back like between like shocking your body, basically going between extreme heat and extreme cold is like really good for you. So, you know, as long as your like nervous system's not out of whack, like some people that are way too stressed out, it's like it can be detrimental for them, can even like cause them to like gain a little bit of weight, just throw things out of whack. So if you can handle that, like most people that are metabolically healthy can handle it. So that'd be ideal. I'm gonna find a gym here soon. I'm once like work slows down a little bit, I want to go to this gym that's a little bit closer to me, and they've got like the wood sauna or like the barrel saunas and the ice bath. So that's a goal of mine to like kind of finish up this little project that I'm working on, and then be able to change gyms when I have a little bit more free time.
What made you leave Bali?
Dude, so I played hockey my whole life. And I really missed it. So like I've played like almost my entire life, pretty much since whenever I started, like mini mites. That's what they call in hockey. I guess most people wouldn't be familiar with that term, but mini mites.
Are you Canadian or no?
So Michigan, it's like basically Canadian.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Really close. You know, I played a lot of hockey in Canada. You know, it's just like right there. You just cross the border. So I really missed hockey. So that was one of the reasons, you know, my friend group here. Bali was awesome, met some great people. I will say I didn't like connect super well with a lot of people out there. And then people that I did connect well with, it's a very like transient city. LA is too, but you know, you're like in America and people like, if they leave, they're like still not that far away and you can see them again. Whereas in like Bali, if somebody leaves, they're like going to another country, like back to Europe or Australia or, you know, wherever it is. Not a whole lot of Americans there, which I'm cool with. But yeah, missed my sports like hockey, my friend group, and then my family as well. Like my grandma started having like some health issues and things were kind of going downhill. And, you know, if something really bad happened, I just wanted to be able to like hop on a flight and get to Michigan in 24 hours. Whereas, you know, doing that from Bali is almost impossible to get to America in 24 hours. Not to mention like the flight would be outrageous in regards to price. And, you know, it's just a lot more affordable and reasonable to do that from a place like California. And again, I got all my friends here. So it's, it was honestly, it's kind of like a cheat code to life though. Like if you have the opportunity, if anyone has the opportunity to like go live in a very relaxing, tropical environment, like I highly recommend it, especially if you're just like accustomed to America and the way that America's just run, it like your life just feels like a vacation. I don't know how else to put it. Like it just like the days of the week are irrelevant. There's not like a Monday through Friday and like your work week and then like Saturday, Sunday. Every day feels like the weekend. It's just how it is. Like it just feels like such a stress-free life. It seems so simple. And in Bali specifically, there's, well, depending on where you're at in Bali, because it's relatively big, but where I was at in Uluwatu, there's like almost like no police presence. There's like 8-year-old kids driving scooters down the road with like no helmets. Like you just feel so free. So it had its pros, but again, family, friends, and sports is what brought me back.
Dang, are you planning to go back to it at some point or no?
I'll definitely go back and visit. I mean, I love traveling. I don't think I'll live anywhere outside of the U.S. like long term for maybe more than maybe 3 months. But yeah, this is home, and like I know it's like the Matrix or whatever, like pretty much everywhere here. But I don't know. That's what like traveling is for, you know.
Yeah, it's just I've been to Bali.
Yeah.
I guess it's just when it comes to like business, family, that kind of stuff, it gets like you can't be on a vacation forever, right? It's like there's years for that, and then there's years for other things, I guess.
Yeah, no, 100%.
I don't know if I would want to. You can't like raise your kids in a place like that.
Yeah, and I think it would be really cool to like raise your kids in a place like that. They'd like if you raise your kids in a place like Bali and then came to America, they'd be like, "What the hell is this place?" Like they're like, "I just want to like be a beach baby or whatever people do there, drink their smoothies, do yoga." But yeah, it's with doing business there, especially with the time zones, is very difficult. That's another thing that kind of brought me back too. Is like I just knew that my opportunity here would be a lot greater. Whatever the time difference is, I think it was like 16 hours or something like that. Like Bali was like 16 hours ahead of the US, or I think ahead of the West or Pacific time zone. Regardless, whatever. It's a massive time zone, right? So you have that. And then like I was getting business opportunities, and only one of the people that reached out to me to do anything was even able to send anything to Bali. So I was just like, all right, like if I want to grow and like do stuff with like brands and affiliate marketing, whatever, it just makes more sense to be back here in the US. So I don't want to say it was like holding me up, but it was just like preventing me from opportunities as well. So considering all those things, I moved back.
The people that come to you, what do you think they're mostly struggling with?
So it really goes off of kind of like the content that I make. So like I just made like something about addiction, and I'll be the first to say I'm not like an addiction professional or anything like that. There's definitely like tips and pointers and things that I can like recommend to people that are struggling with addiction. But so like I've seen a lot of people come to me recently for that. But I would say like the most basic thing, and I think you see this online with all the personal trainers and everything, is like just people just wanting to like lose weight. Like it's such a high demand want, and so many people struggle with it. And I don't know, to me, growing up, it just seems simple. Like once you can eliminate the thought of a calorie deficit and, kind of and that's what you need, right, to lose weight. Like you need to do some physical exercise. You need to eat like less food, but it's really focusing on like the quality of calories as opposed to the number or the quantity of calories. Because again, like 500 calories of like ground beef is not the same as 500 calories of like Doritos. And once you can like crush that belief that it's like all just calories, and really just, again, like at the beginning of this chat, it's just like getting back to the basics of nature. Like just eat single ingredient whole foods and reduce your calories and do a little bit of exercise. Don't sit on your butt all day, like watching TV, and things should start going the right way. I mean, there's other factors that, of course, can be in play, like cortisol levels, your stress, things like that. But if you just go to those basics, like almost everyone's going to see results, because we've been doing the opposite for most of us like our whole lives, because that's like how we were raised, and we don't know the difference between a frozen Hungry Man meal at McDonald's or like, chicken and rice even. So yeah, just changing like those basics. I would say like most people struggle with weight, and brain fog and fatigue. That's pretty big as well. Just like having the energy, which again, a lot can be fixed by just putting some good food in your gut. Yeah, those are probably like the most basic issues that people are struggling with.
Which are, yeah, like, and also like everything is almost for free, like the sun, the earth, the exercise, right? It's crazy how, because I love like all like what you said about like you can buy like the grounding mats and red light therapy and have a sauna and a cold plunge and la la la, but like the reason you're unhealthy or feel like shit can be eliminated for free, almost all for everyone.
Yeah.
Because like obviously there's fancy things to tune you up, like a fancy gym and a fancy cold plunge. But if you just go into the ocean for free every day and you exercise a little bit and you only eat real food, you'll feel better. You'll lose weight.
Yeah, and it's like actually that simple too. And we try to like overcomplicate it with all the fancy stuff. There's everyone's getting the like vitamin B12 injections or the NAD plus injections. And there's all these extra things that you can do. But if you don't have the basics, if you don't have your foundation, all of those things, you might feel a little bit better, but they're going to be 2 to 3 times more impactful if you have your basics figured out. Like once you can get yourself to like a point of homeostasis and just, be at baseline with your health, then all that extra stuff is great. But if you're like eating like shit and not sleeping and you're stressed out all the time and you're working a job you hate and you're like, oh, I'm gonna like go to twice a week and get these injections, like you're just doing everything backwards, and you're, like you said, you're spending more money than you need to as well. It's like, just focus on the basics. And actually, this brings me back to like another like idea too, I suppose, is like, granted, we do have to pay more for like organic food and grass-fed food and stuff like that. But it's crazy because when I was in Bali, a lot of locals there, like that, it's like pretty much like a third world country in places. And, a lot of it's like been gentrified for like Westerners to come in and spend their money and live their life or whatever. But a lot of like the locals there, like you'll just see them, they're like 80 years old with like a staff and like a bag over their shoulders. And like, they just like literally walk out into the forest and they like are like picking bananas and fruits from trees. And like, they just come home and they eat that stuff with like, rice that you can get for pennies on the dollar. And it's crazy because like, if you think about like just grabbing all of your food from nature like that, granted like an animal is different, but with hunting, if you own the land or you hunt on like public land and you get an animal, you can like do it for extremely cheap, right? You can get like hundreds, if not thousands of dollars of meat for whatever it costs you for the bullet, the gun, and if you use any, if you use a tree stand or set up a blind or anything like that. But like, food really should be next to free or super affordable. And then if you grow your own garden too, right? It's just like seeds, some water, and then like you have, however big your garden is, like you could have an abundance of fruits and vegetables. So yeah, again, this just kind of like ties into like the whole matrix or like conditioning. It's like, if you just, first off, I think everyone should travel. You just get that perspective of like how different people live. But secondly, just like really bouncing back to the basics, like to get to this point today, like people were growing their own food. They were like hunting animals. That's like literally how we evolved and it's how we exist. And I think like a lot of that's just completely overlooked. And we're just used to walking down aisle 7, 12, and 15 or whatever it is at Ralph's or Vaughn's or whatever your grocery store is and buying the shit that they provide for us with very little supervision on like what's actually being put into the food. And yeah, just really bringing it back to nature. I don't know how else to say it. Like, it just keeps coming up because that's really what it is.
Where do you want to take your social media presence?
It's a really good question. I don't know, dude. I'm like really intrigued by all these people doing like homesteading. Like I think that's like the way to go, man. Like I just want like a bunch of land, like with some animals, like be able to live off your own land, right? And be self-sustaining. I think that's in this day and age, that's like the ultimate W. Like I don't excuse me. I don't know I don't really know like what else I see with like I would love to like not do like this whole studio setup for all my content. Like if I had somebody like following me around with a camera, life would be so much easier. But I also just think it's kind of cringy to be that guy in the grocery store like holding a product, being you know, like if I walk down like a grocery aisle and I see that person, I'm like, God, I hope that's never me. But yeah, I'd love to just be like on my farm with land and animals and like teaching people, you know, how to like grow good food or whatever it is. So that's where I really see like it kind of going. Like, granted, that'll be a different season of life. Like right now, I'm still young, enjoying the beach life, and I don't know if I could get some beachfront property with land would be epic, but in California, that's very expensive. So who knows, though? You know, you never know what's possible. But yeah, that's kind of where I see it going. Just having somebody like to do a lot of this stuff for me instead of like self-recording everything would be great. And just more like lifestyle stuff, really. I feel like I would enjoy it more as well. But I think it's like also very important to give people value. And that's something that I can do pretty well. Just like jumping behind a camera and talking to it.
Well, are there any people that you look up to?
Yeah, there's several.
You fuck with?
There's several people that I look up to. I will be honest, kind of like you though. Like I don't really use social media. I kind of just like I'll use it a bit for like inspiration and learning some things, and then if I like hear something that's like intriguing, then I'll like go into the research of it. But as far as like accounts, I actually was just talking to somebody in my community. I think it's called Axe Real Estate or something like that. It's basically like this dude or this company that they buy big parcels of land and in like Texas, Tennessee, Florida, and essentially they, you know, have a bunch of investors or like families that want to invest. And I don't know how they divide it up. I think like at the smallest amount you can do is like buy like 10 acres. And then basically they give you all the tools necessary to have like chickens and cows and, you know, like start providing you your own food. And you could live like here in LA and like be a part of this. And I think somehow they like the food back to you and do things like that. So I think stuff like that is super cool. And just, you know, giving people the option, obviously with the cost of an investment, to just provide themselves with their own food, kind of hands off too. So you don't have to actually be there. They have people that do that. That's all with the investment. So I think that's like super cool. And I think that's kind of like the future of like living healthy in America, at least, because that's what we need to do is like get back to the basics. And it just seems like there's more. Have you looked into like all these like chicken farms like catching on fire and stuff like that?
Mm-hmm.
No. So like all these like, I mean, there's like organic and non-organic, but you know, they're pushing for like plant-based meats too, but what is it called? Like lab-grown meats, and they're like pushing for like
No, I've seen that. Yeah.
us eating insects and stuff like that.
Bill Gates.
Yeah, 100%. But excuse me, but like
Eating the bugs.
Dude,
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
The bugs,
And they're getting rid of the farmers, where it's And I mean, not everybody can be a farmer.
right.
I feel like I've been raised such a little bitch that I didn't even know how to do it. Or my wife would be like freaking out over a fly in the house, you know, like I wish sometimes I have this idea, but if I'm like being real, like it's not going to be happening. Not for me.
Yeah, well, that's where you can invest in like one of these properties, and like then
you know
yeah,
where it comes from.
yeah, it's coming from like
And maybe somebody does it that enjoys it too.
yeah, they hire the workers, they do everything. It's super cool. The whole I don't know.
The
dude.
chicken thing, they cheat the whole organic thing, and I know the more you look into that rabbit hole, the more you would want to have it like just for you, or have like control over it.
Yeah, that's why I think just like having your own land where you know like like from the source, from like the grass and the bugs that the chickens were eating, like all the way down to their eggs, and then like the same thing for like your cattle and your, you know, what pesticides or lack thereof pesticides were sprayed on your plants. And I think that's like, again, that's like winning in this day and age in regards to health. You know, if you want to, there's a million different ways that you can consider winning in life. Whether it's some people, it's down on the ocean side and like a $50 million mansion off the coast of Malibu or whatever it is. But yeah, dude, I think I'd be like super happy just having a little like house, maybe some houses for friends and family, you know, just having like my own little homestead and just like being able to source all my own food and just like be like, peace out, America. Like I'm on my own, you know? So that's where I want to go eventually at some point.
Do you use sunscreen?
No.
Same.
Yeah. I've told people like when I go, if I'm going to plan on going surfing for like 2-3 hours, I'll put like some zinc oxide like right here on my nose because my nose will get fried, maybe tips of the ears and like the forehead. But outside of that, like it's funny too because I used to work like landscaping like way back in the day when I was like 16, 18 in Michigan, and I just like never put on sunscreen. Just I don't know why. Again, like going back to the basics of when I was like a little kid, like the things like taking pills, like rubbing on like all these like lotions. I didn't even know that they were toxic back then. I just didn't do it. I was just like, oh, like I'll get tan, sweet. Like I get it makes me look a little bit better, even better. So yeah, never really put on like sunscreen. Took pills. Yeah.
You see children scream when they put on this like white paste. They hate it. I don't think there's any children that like they despise it. I remember despising it as a kid.
Really?
Yeah. Like your mom is fucking annoying you again about like, oh my God, to put on the fucking sunscreen. Like,
yeah, put on sunscreen before you go outside. Yeah.
It's this big paste and it doesn't come off, and like where does it go? And then it's in the water and they can see it in the water. It's next level crazy.
That's a whole other thing too, is like, you know, how it's impacting like wildlife and sea life. And like obviously we're destroying that too. Like, yeah, it's just like everything, it's so backwards. And that's why I love like now in this day and age that there's like so many people waking up to this stuff and they're taking action to, you know, make the world a better place. And I think that's so cool. You know, it's like all these independent companies are like realizing how shitty all the cosmetics and beauty care products are. And they're like, you know, we're making our own products with only natural, organic, few ingredients and things like that. And in regards to like the suntan lotion, yeah, there's like a lot of companies just pushing out like the zinc oxide, and then food too. Like, you know, there's companies coming out with, you know, sprouted nuts and seeds and organic, and you know, it is getting a little bit better. But those individual products, because they're not able to scale yet, they're like pretty expensive. So again, that's where like doing everything yourself, like having your own land, growing it, that's where you're winning, because you're the source of everything, right? So you can't really beat that.
Do you ever find yourself where you're like, okay, that's the holistic journey, like I gotta like, it's too much, or where you're like, I don't like it like it goes from being healthy to that you're so paranoid about everything that it like now your cortisol levels are like fired up because you worry so much about everything. Like for me, like sometimes I don't want to be so weak that I can't take a little bit of microplastics. Like I want to be like so resilient or so strong like most of my day that if I drink some Gatorade, it doesn't do nothing to me. Like I can take it, or I can take some blue light right now, where I don't have to like run around with my red glasses at all times and like be so like anal about everything.
Yeah, no, I think that's super important. And I would say like I'm in a place like that, right? Like I do so well like 90% of the time, 95% of the time, that I don't really worry about the extra stuff. Like I'll be traveling here to Utah, and I like even thought about this. I'm like, oh well, I can't really like bring a bunch of water with me, so it's like I'm probably gonna be drinking some water out of plastic like for a few days. Like it'll be fine, because like I'm doing everything so well, and I've made it a routine now too. So it's not really even stressful. It's like, you know, I feel good when I drink like water out of glass. I feel good when I eat single ingredient whole foods. Like I feel good when I wake up in the morning and go for a walk outside. So it's like, if you find a new or a product that you've been using is like shitty or it tests bad or something, then you just like swap that product and you move on in life. But I know for like a fact, if you're like at the beginning stages and you're like, okay, like I want to like go to the grocery store and I don't want to buy like as many processed foods. Like when you're at that point, just starting, it can be like really overwhelming because you're kind of having like your eyes are just being open to like what's actually out there. So I think at that point it can be a little bit overwhelming, but I don't stress it at all anymore. I'm just like, I know what's good. I know what's bad. Like I have all my like my kitchen appliances are, stainless steel. Like I don't have anything with plastic. I use glass like pretty much whenever I can. And like once you have the basics covered, you just go through your life and, you're going to be feeling better. And if you do find something that is like not great, then you just transition that product for like a better one. Like next time you go to the grocery store, you don't buy the one, you buy something a little bit better. So I think once you're in that place, it's not about like stressing over everything. Again, you want to live as low stress of a life as possible. And everyone that like lives long will tell you that too. It's just like be happy, like, go on your walks, like say your prayers, whatever it is, just like meditate, just like live a low stress life and it'll be good. And I think that's so important because the more you're stressed out about everything, the worse everything is, just like simplicity is best.
How much do you think the mind, have you ever heard of like somebody eating unhealthy, but they enjoy it so much that like there's some sort of benefit with being so happy? Like sometimes I feel like my Cybertruck. Like I had a guy on with EMFs and he was like, "You'll never have this car. You got to switch this car. This battery is huge. You'll feel like shit, la di da di da." But I love this car so much that my mind is like so tuned in and I'm so happy just driving it. Like sometimes I feel like you can. I don't know, like there's a lot of like mind control. I was wondering what you think about that, like with certain things, like, if they're good for you or bad for you. Or have you ever drunk like a non-alcoholic beer, but it makes you drunk because your mind just think it's alcohol? And I feel like there's a lot of mind control with things and like happy thoughts with negative thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely understand where you're coming from. It's just like, so for food, I feel like people, like if you just can't give something up, like your mind's kind of been like hijacked, you know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, we never had any of this processed food. Like we just had regular whole foods. So in fact, I was watching something the other day and it was, this guy was basically like studying, I forgot specifically what he was studying, but he was in like Japan or Europe or somewhere, and he was like asking these kids, like in a school, what their favorite foods were. And the kids were saying things like rice, broccoli, like vegetables, like, and he's like, are these kids like pulling my leg? Like, there's no way this is real. Like, they don't like Gatorade, they don't like gummy worms, like they like rice and broccoli. Like, what the heck? And like the kids were being like dead honest, like that's what they liked because like that's what they'd have always been fed, and like maybe they like broccoli more than beets or whatever it is, or that's just like how they were raised. And because we've been raised with like all these other foods that, I mean, like, dude, sugar is, we've modified it so many times too that it's like literally hijacks our brain. And I think you probably even experienced it. Once you start eating like really well, you don't really even like crave it that much.
No. You despise it.
Yeah. Like I don't really crave sugar. Like I'll buy like the ice cream for bears. I don't know if you've had that, but that stuff's pretty good. But even if like I eat a good sized meal, like if I'm not hungry anymore, I'm like I can easily go without ice cream tonight. It's like the only time I like really take a few bites from it is if I like finish my meal and I'm like I could eat like a little bit more food. So yeah, I genuinely believe that like our brains have just been like hijacked by the food. And then like, bringing in things like a Tesla, like a Cybertruck, for example, like it's a little different.
Would you drive an electric car?
No.
No?
No. I have like an F-150, man. Like I'm ready for like an apocalypse.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I'm like a doomsday prepper, but like if shit hits the fan, like I want to be able to like,
You think shit's gonna hit the fan?
dude, I don't know, man. It's an election year, you know? Like
I'm convinced it's already hitting the fan, and it will be it is so it doesn't make any sense to make it real. It will all be in your device online, I feel like. And it's already like that. All the things that's going on with the campaign and the fake photos and the AI and the Photoshop in Israel and the wars and how everything gets narrated is already happening.
oh yeah, 100%.
So I think that to take off the power grid, bro, then everybody wakes up. Imagine they take off the grid. Imagine they turn off my Tesla. Then I have to walk, and I will be out in nature, talking to women and getting information, real information from another person. If you just talk to me through my device at all times, and I don't listen to anything else, this is the real control. I feel like.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
will never turn it off. I don't see that. That will take all their power.
But dude, think of.
But imagine everybody walking around.
But dude, do you think we'd be walking around? People would be going crazy. Like, remember what happened in 2020 when, what was it, the George Floyd stuff? Like, obviously those were riots. But like, dude, I think that will happen, especially in a city like Los Angeles. Like, dude, people are going to be like, oh my God, we don't have internet. Go loot everything you can grab from the grocery store, where I'm getting in my truck and I'm getting the F out of here. Like, I'm straight out of here, and the government can't shut my vehicle off because, but no, that's like, that, you know, again, it's not like keeping keeping everything at bay. Like, it's not like something I like go to sleep worrying about, but it's like, I want to like mitigate, I want to control the things that I can control.
Yeah.
And I do feel like if I have an electric vehicle, like, yeah, they could like flip a switch and boom, I can't drive my car. Where not mine is, if I put gas in it, it drives. So, and it's like 4-wheel drive, you know, got a bed, I can throw some extra like 5 gallons of gas back there, whatever I need. So I wouldn't, again, I don't like stress about it, but I wouldn't be, I'll just say I wouldn't be surprised if like something did happen. But I do think like if we shut down communications, this world will go, like America will be in chaos. And that's where I think I would be super happy on my homestead land with my cows, and like everyone else is like freaking out. And I'm just like kicking back on my front porch in my rocking chair and just, I don't know, probably sitting there like ready for people to come onto my property. And again, it's not like I'm like living in fear like that, but that's where I just feel that the world could potentially go at this point. And being more prepared for it than not is advantageous.
For sure.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about, though.
Yeah.
It is like crazy.
I know, it really makes you wonder, why are you in LA? You know, like if that is a possibility, which it kind of is,
Yeah.
should be at least considered. You know, even if you don't need to worry about it constantly, but it's an option. It could happen, and then it's very congested, and it will be very hard to get out of here.
Yeah. Like I said, like it's kind of like just the seasons of life, you know?
What videos gotten taken off for you? Taken down, I mean.
One where I talked about the vax on TikTok. I never said the word, but I had like a pen and I like did this and I said like how like all these things are happening. And again, all that information is being like suppressed because they don't want us to know it. But dude, like I said, whenever I mention something about it, like the DMs that I get and the like even just the comments, like the public comments on like the video, it's kind of crazy. And it's mind-blowing to me that people still don't think that it was a problem. I'm like, are you awake? Like, I don't know. So that was one, and then what was the other one? I don't remember the other ones off the top of my head. It was like a few days before or after that, but I don't remember. I spend very little time on TikTok. I don't know. My content doesn't do well on TikTok anyways. It's just, I think it's like too long, too informative, not like snappy enough. So yeah, that was one. Yeah, I was like, of course, go figure, right? You know, talking about the one topic that's like super restricted. Yeah, that one. And then Yeah, I can't remember the other one at the moment. Have you ever had any like any flag content or anything taken down or restricted?
Well, TikTok used to be like very. I used to get a lot of videos down for just violence or too sexual, showing too much, or it used to be very holy. It's not anymore that way, but it used to be like you can't be in a bikini besides if you're like by a pool. You can't be like at home shooting yourself in a bikini, stuff like that. And also the whole like if you slap somebody or if it's a little aggressive, it would be taken down. But that is not the case anymore. They really changed. But it used to be like very kids friendly. Like everything needs to be very appropriate.
So it's like more relaxed now, right? Yeah. No, I've definitely seen that. Yeah, in fact, like I've seen like girls like post like some bikini stuff and then like it's like flagged. And I'm like, that's so weird because there's like damn near porn on social media. Like how is like a girl in a bikini? So I don't really know how they deal with that stuff, but I've never really had any issues with that side of things. It's usually about like information. But yeah,
Do you do long form as well, or do you just do the clips on IG?
I just do like the short form clips, but I would like again like kind of where I see my content going is like the long form, just like more like lifestyle kind of stuff because I think people are super intrigued in that. And honestly, like it would just be easier to do too. But I do like researching. So somehow if I can like kind of mix the two, it would be really cool. There's definitely ways of doing it. There's people on YouTube that do it. But I also like want to spend like less time like on social media because like dude, just like living your life and just like not being so tied in with everything that's going on the internet and just like truly living a free, carefree life is when I'm happiest. So, you know, finding a good balance between the two and then like somehow incorporating that in my content would be ideal, like the goal to strive for, I suppose.
It would be cool to show how you build your own farm and how you do it.
Yeah, there's
like a guide.
Yeah, there's definitely like a bunch of homesteading accounts that do that. Again, I don't really like follow a bunch of them just because I don't really watch content, but you know, people will send me stuff and I'm like, oh, that's awesome. So maybe as I transition into that like season of life, I'll like start following more of those people and like getting really in tune with it.
Are there some really shocking things that you've discovered that you really didn't expect in your like holistic journey or ever since you like opened your eyes?
Are you asking like what are like the biggest conspiracies that I believe in?
No, that you like know to be true by now. Or like things that really shocked you, like how, like the metal in the salt, in salt is it was really odd to me because like I thought I thought there's like salt mines and they mine it and then they get the salt out, and how could there possibly be lead in it? You know, like
yeah, I mean, like salt's been known to like have like a lot of like microplastics and heavy metals. I think like the one that like probably most people were informed about years ago was like heavy metals in pink Himalayan salt. So
I was struck too about like that you really can't eat fish, kind of.
Dude, fish is crazy.
Yeah, you really can't. Like if you, I mean, maybe in a lake in Austria, maybe, but really you kind of can't. You know?
Yeah, like maybe if you're fishing like some small fish out of like the middle of Canada where like everything's been like is like kind of untouched.
Yeah, or you can't really eat like chicken meat because they have like just one stomach, and if the farmer just wants a little bit more profit, he might not feed the chicken what you want to eat at the end of the day, kind of stuff like that, where you're like, dang, or how crazy raw milk is, like how epic it is. Like I had no idea.
Yeah.
And I grew up in Austria and I never drank raw milk. Like I remember it was there. We had access to it, but we didn't really, it was not really a thing. And now like I've never drunk anything more like nutrient and like hydrating.
I was going to say it's actually hydrating.
It's so hydrating and I crave it like so much. Like when I eat my steak and I don't have my raw milk, it's very devastating.
Yeah, dude. Actually, I'd probably be on that.
I had no idea to heat up the milk. Like I didn't know stuff like that.
Yeah. I would say probably the raw milk is like one of the like most eye-opening things. I mean, I guess the fish too. Now, the fish is just getting worse and worse, and like, I mean, not everyone loves sushi, but like a lot of people love sushi, and it's got like the tuna, the salmon. They're all like bigger fish, right? And they accumulate more toxins, heavy metals, mercury specifically, because they live a longer life and they're just a bigger fish. So there are like sardines are like generally a little bit healthier in regards to fish, and like fish have like healthy fats, right? They're like really good for our brain. So it's like this is where you can like kind of get down the rabbit hole and be like, what the hell? I need these fats, but like I can't eat them because the fish are terrible. And then you find like then you're like, okay, I'll just take some fish oils, but oh my God, they're all rancid. And then it's just like, it's this, then that, and this, then that. But yeah, I would say like the thing that's kind of like most mind blowing, and this is actually something that a lot of people have benefited from kind of like my communities, is like a lot of people feel that they're lactose intolerant, or they like have some gut or indigestion problems or anything of the sort when they eat dairy, right? But for dairy, like a lot of people that switch to raw dairy, things are a lot better, whether it's like the cheese or the milk or even ice cream. And then there's the other thing, because like some states do like, I forget what it is. It's like 17 states, I think, in the U.S. are like raw milk is still legal. You have to sell it as like pet food, and like people can get it that way. They're like buying it for their dog and then they just drink it, which is like so crazy if you think about it. But there's A2 milk. Have you heard of that?
Mm-mm.
So there's like A2 dairy and A2 milk, and that's actually really good for a lot of people with like that are like lactose intolerant too, because it's basically just a different form of casein that people don't have issues digesting. So yeah, for anyone that like has any issues like consuming dairy, if I recommend them either take, switch to raw dairy or A2 dairy, they can generally tolerate dairy after that, which is like crazy, because like my whole life too, like my parents never mentioned raw dairy, raw milk, nothing. We just always got like your standard 2%. Like my one of my brothers like loved it. He would drink like a gallon in like a couple days. And yeah, then you just like learn about how like nutrient dense and all the benefits of like raw milk. And another thing that's crazy, and you know this because you have kids, dude, have you seen what's in baby formula?
Yes.
Bro, that is,
of course.
Dude, it's so bad. Like
it's bananas.
like we're
not only that, also that like most women, and I'm here shaming the women that do that, choose just out of comfort to not breastfeed their baby, which should be shamed for sure, because you fuck with their immune system. I had a midwife on here that told me there's 3 things that really change the immune system of your child, which is a vaginal birth or C-section, because it cannot get the bacteria, and it will miss that.
With a C-section,
with
right?
a C-section, you will take the vaginal bacteria from the baby, which is detrimental for the whole life, for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
The amount of antibiotics that the mom consumes during pregnancy and that the baby gets during their first 6 months of life or first couple of years.
Yep.
And if it's formula or breastfed, because the boob apparently, even I just saw this yesterday, it checks the saliva of the baby and can then adjust what kind of minerals and vitamins it gives to the baby.
Wait, from like the nipple?
Yes.
Wow.
It
That's crazy.
adjusts because in the beginning it's very high cholesterol, and the baby has a very high cholesterol, and it's really interesting that too, because the cholesterol is a whole another topic.
Yeah.
But it's very nutrient dense at all times, but it kind of adjusts it to the baby.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
So it's a really smart process. Also, the mother cannot produce milks if there's no skin to skin. The baby needs to smell the mother. You can't use crazy deodorant because it will get confused. I mean, there's a lot of little details, and you can really mess somebody up if you just out of comfort plan your C-section and plan to not breastfeed.
Yeah, it's like literally detrimental. It's crazy. Again, dude, just getting back to like the basics of nature. Like that's all. everything that you just mentioned is like everything that we would have done like
And then
hundreds.
on top of that, well, you said the formula has the craziest from seed oils. I mean, you name it. How could that possibly be good for the baby? I mean,
Even the healthy ones
no,
are
they're-
garbage.
yeah.
Like they say, like because some others like
because breast milk is like closer to blood than to milk.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally like the lifeblood of for a newborn.
Yeah.
Like and like you said with cholesterol, like everyone's freaking out about cholesterol. Like breast milk's like the highest cholesterol food like on the planet.
Yeah.
And it's like a good chunk of our brain is made of all cholesterol. Like we need it, and it's like so essential.
Yeah.
And granted, like that's in like a lot of red meat, which they're trying to convince
And
us.
eggs.
Yeah, and they're trying to convince us to eat plants. And
Yeah.
granted, there is like
I'll never forget that there was a trend when I was a teenager and I was doing bodybuilding of people throwing the egg yolks out into like the sink. Have you ever seen those?
oh
guys?
yeah, just eating egg whites.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's considered like the athlete, which is like the most multivitamin super food that you can eat is the egg yolk.
Yeah, it's like the most nutrient dense part of the egg. Well, because there's the thing too, because there's like a little bit of fat in there. So like when I did bodybuilding too, like I would just buy like the containers of like egg whites, right? And then I would just literally just drink those.
And you have no idea where they're coming from.
Oh, yeah.
I was wondering where the whey comes from in my protein powder because it just says nothing on the packaging. You know,
It's garbage.
could
for-
be any kind of cow.
yeah, it's garbage for sure. That's again back in the days where, I mean, granted, I wasn't eating all the sugar and all the shit that everyone else is eating, but like, yeah, my food wasn't sourced from good places, that's for sure. And that could have had an issue in sparking all of the health issues that I had. But no, it's different for everyone too. And there's never like one thing that like, it's like, this is everyone's problem. Like everyone's looking for that one pill that's going to fix everything. And it's like, it's a lifestyle change. Like you have to change your lifestyle. And once you do that and you're feeling better, I feel like it's a lot less like overwhelming. But when you're sick at that point in time, you're like, okay, what is it? Is it like the fragrances in my cosmetics? Is it the food? Is it, yeah, there's just so many different things that it could be.
Plus, there's a whole industry for sick people.
Yeah, that is the industry.
Yeah, even with the like being healthy, they kind of like use that fear factor too. So either way, you gotta like really question your decisions and make smart choices. But it all comes down back to nature. I feel like
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
Mother Earth is like king.
Yeah. It almost seems too simple. You know, it's like I think that's where like people can't grasp it. Like just the fact of grounding, like touching the earth. Like we're so overwhelmed with like all these different things that like literally touching grass seems too simple. You're like, no way, like they can't do anything, you know? But it's like we're never connected to the earth anymore. Like we're all accustomed to wearing shoes, and we all live around. There's concrete everywhere, you know, especially in the cities, which is like where most people live, and rather than like rural communities. So it's just like making the basics normal again. It's like wild to think about, but it's really that simple.
Yeah, and that works for everybody. I feel like because like we're in a state where like there's always like, you know, you can't say like, I don't know, men are stronger than women because there's this one woman who's stronger than them. Everybody gets it, but like if you like go outside, you'll feel better. There's this one person who can't go outside. Most people, if they do the simplest things like grounding, eating real food, spending time outside, they'll go in the sun, they'll feel better.
Yeah.
They'll be better.
And spending less time like on social media.
Yeah.
All like and that's it, like that's a whole nother thing too of it is with like what you were mentioning earlier is like the AI and stuff and how it's I just saw this a few days ago. And it's kind of like how basically they're just trying to divide us as much as possible, because once people start like connecting and, you know, there's like a big group of people that have an opposing belief or ideas than mainstream, that's when they lose their power, you know? So the way that they want to approach everything is like just keeping people divided is as divided as possible. And there was something like really interesting. What do they call it? Like the dead internet or something like that. I forget like the term, but it's like this new phrase. And there's, basically just tons of like AI bots like on the internet, like commenting on people's posts and stuff. But then there's another side of it where this girl like pulled up a piece of content, and she had like her phone and her boyfriend's phone. And you know how like if you see a video and you're like, oh God, the comments on this are gonna be epic, and then you like click the comments. So she did that. She like was on this post, and she went to
On the same post.
On the same post on two different phones, like her phone and her boyfriend and her husband's phone, whatever it was. And then like the comments that it first showed like were completely different on both phones. One was like hers was like supporting the person in the video, and the other one was like all people making fun of it. So it's like they're somehow like have twisted this algorithm to like make these two people that use these two devices, who are like actually a couple, they're like being pushed different information on the same post. So it's like, if it's doing that, like we don't even know how far and how deep it's like actually going, because
I believe that.
Yeah,
for sure, 100%.
It's like like, and that once you get,
and it will also show you only certain posts that will push you more into one direction. It will never try to like neutralize you. Like when you are like more leaning right, it will show you just right content, and same to the left and all that.
Yeah, which is like so crazy, so crazy.
Yeah,
like there's no.
That's why I feel like if they take the grid of, even with the protests, but COVID was gone at this point. Because when everybody was protesting, everybody's like, yo, nothing's happening. Like everybody's out there touching each other and being really close, and like everything, the whole thing really doesn't work anymore, and like it gets more ridiculous by the minute, kind of. And I feel like the having no babies, everybody in their apartment, nobody talking to each other is key. That is like, and feeding the bugs. So you're as fogged up as much as possible. You spend most of your time on the screen, and you don't talk to anyone, and you're scared like you have monkeypox. That is key, because then that is the full control, because that's how they got me to take the shots. This is how they did it for me. Yeah. Because I was isolated in my apartment, I didn't talk to enough people, and I just wanted to be safe, and I listened, and I was obedient, and I did it. So if I would have talked to enough people, there's no way I would have been obedient. Because you get like, it goes like, even with everything that's going on, and like it's very rare that you really, I don't know, a huge amount of people that like think it's okay for teenagers to take like hormone blockers. You would have to be really in a specific place at the right time. But if you talk to enough people, everybody will kind of agree that that is kind of maybe not the best idea. It's these like little, and in the internet you can create these places really easy where there's only people that have your belief, and you will be controlled in this opinion. And I think it's they've set it up perfectly, but the podcasts kind of destroy that stuff.
Yeah.
Because you have people that talk to too many people, and too many people are listening. So it kind of like, you know, like how bad the influence is of the social media and how controlling it can also like shoot backwards and open up this whole information hole where now everybody's kind of listening to, I don't know, to Joe Rogan, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, like that makes a lot of sense now. Like you've shown me like 10 clips of people dying on monkeypox, but like then now I see like, I don't know, 5 scientists talk about this very differently. You're like, why have I never, like the first time I heard Robert Kennedy speak, I was like he sounds crazy, but why have I never heard of this? Like this other, I've never heard of this opinion.
Yeah.
Never heard of the other opinion. And you're like, why have I never heard of this? Why does nobody have questioned this, right? Like, why is everybody pro this? And then, I mean, then it starts.
Yeah,
that was for me like where I was like, hold on a minute. I listened to that the Robert Kennedy thing about the vaccines. I listened to it over and over and over because like I couldn't believe it. I was sending it to people. I was like, how is this real? Then I was reading his books and I'm like, how is this real? How is he not sued? How is he speaking? How is nobody after him? Like what's going on? How is he speaking this, and how is this even allowed to be online? How are they letting this information like flood? Yeah. Or where was the mistake made? You know, like how can somebody like him speak?
Yeah. You read his book? Yeah.
Well, the Fauci.
Yeah. I've had I started it. I haven't read the whole thing. It's long, right?
Bro, and it's his own wife apparently didn't read it because it's so sad. It's just I didn't live the whole AIDS pandemic thing, but they didn't have the internet back then, so they really got away with much more. So it is so sad and heartbreaking and crazy that I would advise everybody to listen to. Is it the real Anthony Fauci?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. I haven't on Audible.
Same.
And I listened to a few chapters, and then I looked at the amount of time left, and I was like, my God, this is a long book. So yeah, something I definitely want to get into. But I'm sure there's definitely things in there that will blow my mind. But I've know probably some of the keynotes from it. But yeah, I've
the
heard
keynote is they lied about everything, and they don't have your best interest at heart.
There's
and the COVID thing is not the first time they did this. This has just been another one that just didn't go as planned, kind of. And they do this all the time. They experiment all the time on us. And yeah, that's what is gonna happen with the monkeypox, I guess.
Yeah. There's a documentary, I think it is, coming out. I keep getting emails for it. I think it's called Protocol 7.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, I want to see that. That looks really good. But yeah, I'm into all that stuff. But I'll have to make it to that book at some point in time. I've had a friend tell me, he's like, dude, you'll never see the world the same again after you read that book. So I'll be interested. But I feel like Protocol 7 will probably condense it down into an hour and a half or whatever it is, and just be a lot more easy to digest.
Have you read the Power of Now by Tolle?
I don't think I've read that one. No.
Or the New Earth? He has 2 books. He has more books than that, but there's these 2 main books. You got a audible.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the Power of Now, which only talks about the power of the present moment.
Mm-hmm. I've definitely heard of that book, but I haven't read it.
But every time it makes so much sense that it's just beautiful as a reminder, because we all know how to be present and we should be present. But once the book just makes it perfectly clear why you're not being present and how to be present, I guess.
Do you mentioned something? You said we all know how to be present. Do you think that's true in today's age? Do you think everyone knows how to be present?
For sure, because people still have sex and want to drive a fast car and do intense workouts, because it's these moments of presence that occur, that you're chasing.
Yeah.
These truth moments.
But I guess maybe the better question is, do you think people know how to, I just feel for the younger generation, they actually don't really know how to be present. When you're raised with an iPad in front of your face at 6 months old, and that's all you know until you go to school. I genuinely don't believe these kids know how to be present. Some of them, which is sad. I remember going camping with my family, and no cell phone. Dude, we'd stare at the fire pit and throw rocks at each other. Kids don't know how to do that anymore. They wouldn't even know what to do. I feel if you put them at around a campfire with 3 or 4 other kids, they would be what do we do? No devices, no internet. They'd be what do we do? I'm bored. So no, I believe everyone has it in them, but a lot of people that have been raised an opposite lifestyle, I feel they it'll take them actually time to learn how to enjoy the present moment.
For sure. But I still believe that maybe they're not aware of it, but there must be some sort of unsatisfaction with the dopamine hits of the devices, and there's this weird intuition that they're not listening to, that there must be moments in their life where they get hit with presence.
Mm-hmm.
And that might be your dad screaming at you, but these in moments where there's nothing else in that moment.
Yeah, no, I feel that
you kind of crave a little bit. I feel I always, even if I had no understanding of presence, I would still, I used to always ask myself why I crave these intense workouts where you cannot escape thinking backwards or forward. You only focus on that one task. in that moment. But then I understood it was just because it's like the present moment.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that sounds like a great book. I'll have to pick that one up soon.
Yeah.
Power of Now.
It's short.
Yeah.
It's not nothing like the Great
Fauci.
Fauci. Yeah.
Take me a
And
couple
not as
days.
like specific, where it's like, I don't know, it starts with like 1,000 references and it's very specific. No, it's very like, it's like a question answering, like a person asking like, why should I be present? You know, I want to have a great car, a great house. Like, don't tell me to be like enjoying the moment right now. That will make me like a coward and lazy. And then there's like an answer to that.
Oh, that's cool.
It's really cool.
Yeah. Okay.
It's really cool.
All right,
really
yeah.
cool. Where they really nail it down how there cannot be like a good decision out of not being present. You'll not make the right decision right now if you're not here right now. Kind of. You don't need to like sit on a bench and just enjoy like the leaves because you're so tripped out by the presence. That you can do that too, but you could also make really smart business choices out of being so present and not being deluded by consumption or whatever like you want to get.
Yeah. No, I actually love that. I think it's so important too because so many people are like just so disconnected from themselves and like their intuition. And you know, like the saying, trust your gut. I feel like so many people like don't even know what that is because they're just so disconnected. And
Their microbiome.
yeah, it's trashed.
There is no gut. Yeah.
Which means there's no brain.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go back to like everything, it all makes sense. You know, it's like, oh, they're starting, like we start with the food that's like it's super it's hyper palatable. It's like hijacked our brain. Now our guts are wrecked. Now we don't even know like who we are, what we want, or who to listen to, and we're just like not as free thinking as we
And then we're genderless and no sex drive. So nobody's male, female, and then there's no kids, and then I don't want to have kids, and I watch porn every day, and then you just disintegrate as a society.
yeah, then you're not a human. Like you just the reproducing, the whole gender stuff is, dude, it's so insane.
Yeah. It's evil.
100%.
It really, I never thought of evil until I saw that stuff and got kids myself where I'm like, yo, you guys that's pure evil. That is not right. And there's who dresses up as Satan? I don't know how much money you would have to pay me to dress up and celebrate Satan. It's just I was even scared to play like Ouija boards. Like, I don't fuck with that stuff. Like, with like, I don't know, you don't need to be religious to have respect from like dark energy and the devil kind of.
Oh yeah, dude. I've never touched a Ouija board. They creep me out. Like, I don't even want to be in the same room as one.
Yeah.
Whether it's like completely fake or not, like I don't know. Just like you said, the concept of it is so weird. And then actually, you bring up a good point. I would also agree. Like I think like this whole I don't care what people want to do with themselves, but the thing that like really gets me worked up about it is the push on kids.
Yeah.
Dude, that's
it's
twisted.
always the kids.
So twisted.
Yeah, because as an adult, even if you don't subscribe to it, you can chop your body parts off, right? Like if you would cut off your finger, I would be like, I don't know, I wouldn't do it. But if you want to do that, Dennis, then you do that, right?
Yeah.
But if it's your genitals, somehow that gets celebrated. But if you chop off any other body part, it's like you're a sick human being. So it's just, the whole kid thing makes it like too obvious and too weird. It could just be celebrated by itself somewhere private, but it's not.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. It's in so in my last business, I worked with like schools and I helped schools raise money. So I was in schools all over from Los Angeles County to Ventura County to Santa Barbara County. And I even went up a little further north than that at times. But, and this is crazy too, because this is like something that's really it's not only relevant in California, but it's more relevant in California than a lot of other states. But the whole LGBTQ plus community. It's like every school has a club, like a club for it, right? And I was like talking about this with some friends back home, and they're like, "Oh yeah, like our schools don't have that." And I was like, "That's interesting. I thought it was just normal." And then I watched this documentary on it, and the documentary is wild. So like kids in school, everyone's gonna struggle at some point, right? So the way that the documentary displays it is basically like there's kids that are lost or confused at school. They're not great at making friends, whatever. They're bullied, whatever it is. So these communities these clubs, are very welcoming, right? They'll welcome everybody. And, that's great. I support that. Like have a club that like welcomes everyone. Everyone can be friends. That's awesome. But the part where it gets wild is, these kids are in grade school or middle school, and they have them in high schools too. So maybe not in grade school. I didn't really work in a lot of grade schools, so I guess I can't speak on that behalf. But the kids they'll go into these clubs confused, right? They don't know what the direction is in life. And then basically when they come into these clubs, they're basically, and again, I've never been in one of these clubs, so this is like speaking from what I've seen in a documentary and personally seeing it in real life. I was never in the actual club, but I've seen their presence everywhere. And essentially, like, kids will come into these and they're like, "Oh, I'm just not happy." And they're like, "Well, like, have you ever, if it's a boy, like, have you ever thought about changing to being a girl?" And then they're like, incentivize that. Like, that's what's going to make them happy. And then then there's other kids in that group or that club that are in that transition process, and they're like excited, like this is going to be like a new start, like they get to like be this whole new person. But dude, when these kids are like 13, 14 years old, like, dude, you can't buy cigarettes till you're 18, you can't drink till you're 21, you can't drive a car till you're 16, but you can change your hormones at freaking, what does California allow, 13, 12 now,
without telling your parents.
Yeah, no parents' consent. And then that's the other thing that the documentary mentions too, is these clubs actually they start like turning you and like changing your mind to like go against your parents, like that your parents are the bad person because they don't want you to change. And like, dude, it gives me like goosebumps thinking about it because it's pretty twisted.
Like, they get celebrated at the end of the day for not doing anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's like not really how the world works, because like if you mess up, you become homeless or you go to jail. The world doesn't celebrate everyone. There is no like, we celebrate you just the way you are. It's just, that's your mom, and that should only be your mom.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even agree to a club that celebrates everybody the way they are. There needs to be some sort of achievement, and you need to put in the work, because it's not your mom. Mm-hmm. Your mom has that unconditional love, and she'll love me even if I'm a criminal, but that should just be your mom. Mm-hmm. Everybody else should only accept you if you're a decent human being who influences their surroundings with some sort of positive effect. Yeah. Through your work, or if you serve, or whatever you do. Like, there needs to be some sort of service to society and to yourself. Otherwise, you don't just get celebrated for identifying as a dog. Yeah. But that's so scary, man. That's terrifying. Yeah. Especially so easily manipulated. They copy everything you do. They need a person to look up to. They need role models, and they want to be celebrated. They want to feel special. It's very easily pushed in some certain direction that also later can never. These hormone blockers are just sterilization drugs, and everybody feels like pumped up. If you give me like testosterone or estrogens, like you feel like hormones, like that will make you feel good in the beginning, mm-hmm. And until you realize that you'll never have a family. Yeah, and dude, I was actually having this discussion a couple weeks ago with somebody that didn't see eye to eye with me, and that's all right. Like, I'm more than happy to discuss anything. And another thing, because we're so divided as a society today, people are so sensitive, and you can't, they're not even willing to hear the other side of things. And I think that's like what they've done a really good job of separating people and separating society, is like this group of people that's like so sensitive, and they like they won't even like hear you out. Like,
if you don't agree with me, cool. Like, I'm fine. I'll talk about it. I'll talk about like why I believe what I believe, and I fully believe that everyone should be able to have that conversation, you know, without just like storming off, getting mad, getting angry, like thinking you're the worst person in the world because you don't see the same. Like, that's so irrational. But I was like, I was having this conversation with somebody, and they were like just trying to explain to me like why they thought it was right that kids can like decide at 12 or 13 years old. And I was like, I heard him out, but like I just, nothing was clicking. I was like, how can you possibly think this? Like, I said the same thing too. I was like, we can't drive till we're 16, can't smoke till you're 18, can't drink till you're 21, but at 12 you can reverse everything that your parents and God gave to you. Like it's makes no logical sense to me, and it's becoming so normalized that, oh, you know, like, you're not happy
By law.
yeah. And then the other thing of it too, yeah, by law, insane. The other thing of it too is that no one talks about is the people that do transition, dude, it's something like 50% of them are taking themselves out of the game.
Yeah. I know the suicide rate plus side effects, there's no long-term studies. It's literally insane.
It's an experiment.
Yeah, no, and there's people that say that all these doctors should go to jail, like Peterson.
I wouldn't feel right operating on
That is
a 14-year-old kid.
Bro. I know, it really makes you question humans
Yeah.
that are willing to do that.
Yeah, like, just make the kid wait till they're 18 at least, like, till they...
Apparently, apparently the cortex in males
it's
is not
older.
fully developed until like 20.
No, yeah, it's older.
25.
But I mean, like, if you're... it is older. I mean, I would agree with that too, but like, dude...
Mutilation until you're 30. Then you can mutilate your body.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just crazy. Like, 12... what is it, 12 or is it 14, 13? Somewhere in there, right?
Yeah, I don't... Bro,
It's too young.
Yeah.
It's too young. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you. I know, like, you know...
I would love to talk to somebody, though, that has a different opinion, because mostly they shy away from, like, podcasts, or even, like, you know, like, Elon talked to Trump, is Kamala is not going to come and talk to him, or like, a lot of times they shy away from these big podcasts and platforms.
Which...
Makes sense.
Yeah, I was going to say, which kind of makes sense.
Because in long form... with the wrong opponent, you might not really make so much sense anymore.
It's that, and it's the fact that they're generally too sensitive. It's like these people that can't discuss things because it's like, if like I would like get all ticked off, like slam these headphones down and walk home. You know, it's like that. It's kind of like that same group of people like can't discuss things. It's like their way or the highway, and there's no in between. There's no like, oh yeah, I can see where you come from when you say that, and. But yeah, there is none of that. It's like I'm right, you're wrong, and no discussion in between. So yeah, it would be. I'd definitely watch like a podcast. Like, there's been a couple podcasts about like where vegans and carnivores kind of battle it out. You know, something would be like really interesting, especially if you were like could get a doctor that like does the surgeries. That'd be really good. That'd be really good.
Yeah, I have some gay friends that think it's ridiculous, and it's sad for them that they just get put into this narrative. And I also think I follow one trans woman that is also like, why the fuck are the kids always in this thing? Like, she's like a happy trans woman now, or just a woman, I guess. But it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, like, I know people like enjoy it, like they made the change and they're happy with it, and I fully support that. Again, like we said earlier, like, do what you want to do, like whatever makes you happy, but just don't push it on the kids. You know, they're putting in like kids' books and stuff now, and it's like, oh my god, it starts.
And I post that shit, they're like, you're homophobic. Or you're transphobic, because I'm like, yo, like, why is this, like, every other ABC is like, it's not S for straight and like W for wife. No, it's like fruits and animals. It's like,
colors.
You know, like M for monkey. It's not like M for a macho man or muscles. There's no like straight ABCs.
Yeah.
There's no straight propaganda that is like pushed on the people to be so fucking straight.
Yeah.
You know, like you need to be straight. You need to make a family. You need to have as many children as possible. Nobody speaks that. Nobody talks that. Be religious. Believe in God. Make a family. Find the love of your life. Nobody says these things, right? There's no God. Be whatever you want. And be ugly and fat and do nothing, and you'll be celebrated for your sexual orientation. You know, like it's also so sad to me that like imagine I would focus on being straight and just telling people I'm straight and like wearing straight colors, having
Yeah.
a straight flag that I would wave around my house, and then I go on straight events. There's a straight parade where everybody's straight.
A straight month.
Yeah, I mean it's just, and then they're like, well, it's because everybody's straight, but also the family is under attack, the kids are under attack, and that's just the bottom line. I feel like
Yeah.
the bottom line is there's a big attack on families and on parents and on kids,
Yeah. Yeah. It's all. I think it's just the
and it's unacceptable.
100%. Yeah. It's. What do you think the biggest? I was having this discussion with some friends too. Like, what do you believe is like the main driver of all this stuff that we're up against? Do you think it's the division of families or the separation from God or something else?
That's a good question. The biggest, well,
Yeah, it's a tough one. Like,
yeah.
because I'm like,
I
why
feel
are
like
they doing
the
this?
devices is the biggest
Mhm.
enemy and the biggest control factor. I feel like the online,
Yeah,
the matrix.
yeah,
The matrix is the biggest controller, but it is definitely good versus evil.
yeah, 100%.
You can call it God, you can call it the universe, you can even call it like Earth or nature. But there is good versus evil, and I don't need everybody to prescribe to a certain religion. I just feel like it all comes back from a bigger belief that we're all in this together, and then there is pure evil that is trying to get to that.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I would agree. That's like pretty spot on. It's like, yeah,
There is a fight against evil, and it's not like as simple as like a religious war, or I think it's more because like I looked into religions and I heard a lot of like people talking about religions where it all goes back to one religion where all these other religions came out of. So I don't really like the obsession with just one religion, but I feel like there's been like when you look into the pyramids and everything, there's in every culture there's always been a bigger belief in some sort of power of God or the universe.
yeah,
And if you lose that belief, then you don't believe in the future and you don't believe in humans. It's anti-human versus pro-human. I believe in that. There is, and you can call them AI or the robots or the elites or whatever, but there's something that is against humanity, and that is the pure evil. And you can call them Bill Gates or people that wanting to make no more children and eating the bugs and making less humans. Humans are not good for the earth. They're trying to make humans evil. And then there's the other side that is like pro-human, pro-family, pro-God.
yeah,
I think it comes down to that.
yeah. It's just like, yeah, division. And I would agree with you on like kind of the religion side of things. It's like, if you, like, I don't care what religion you subscribe to. If you just believe that
That it's not about you,
yeah, exactly.
right?
Yeah, that there's something greater that we're all living for, and that like our time here on earth and the life that we live here on earth is like temporary, and after that you spend your time elsewhere. Your soul does. If you just believe that there's like something greater after this, because I think like to believe that you just have in America it's like 78 years if you're unhealthy or if you're average on earth, and like that's it, then I mean like it also like makes me think why so many people could just like go through life like so careless, like if there's like nothing good to live for after, like, why would I care? Why would I just like sit on the couch and watch movies all day? Which is super sad to me because like life is a blessing. But yeah, as long as like you're living for something greater, you know, I think that's like one of the most important things that you can do, and just trying to fulfill your purpose, whatever that may be. And some people don't know what their purpose is, and some people have to find that. And it takes time to find, but you know, that's the beauty and the journey of life. So just always living for something greater, to be honest.
Let people know how they can find you.
Mostly on Instagram, Denny Dure, Denny_DURE. And yeah, that's probably where I'm most active, but I'm on pretty much all the platforms at that same handle.
All right.
Yeah.
Sick.
Appreciate it, man.
Nice to meet you.
You as well.